Welcome to episode 36 of the Busted Buttons video game podcast. In this episode, I'm not going to lie, we're kind of going to be a little bit all over the place because we have some scraps left over from the last episode. You know, we really wanted to get into the console launches and kind of that future of TGPZ
And it's not
gaming.
going any better either right now, I can tell you that.
So I will say, we just kind of have some random gameplay type topics that we're just, that we've had that we really wanted to talk about. So we're going to kind of get into, final bosses in games. And, some games you have to fight them multiple times throughout the game. How do we feel about that? In open world games, how do we feel about traveling on foot versus horseback or using fast travel? What's our personal preference and what impacts that preference? We're also going to really touch on celebrities in video games. It seems like it's always kind of been there, but it's becoming more and more prominent here the last, generation of consoles or so. So we'll get into that. And then finally, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the sound preferences for video games. And by sound preferences, I mean, how do we listen while we're playing? Do you use headphones, TV, surround sound? So we'll get into all that. But before we jump into that, I do want to ask, in our last episode, you said you were going to get drunk and buy Age of Calamity. Did you do it, and have you had a chance to play it yet?
Well, sadly, I did not get drunk. Now, I had a pretty good buzz going on, but, with the kids, I can't always get that smash, and right. I kind of was playing on it that night, and I'm sure they were bothering me, and it didn't happen, but I did drink. I did drink my Upland Wheat Ale, and yes. I did buy that game. So, I got that part out of the way. I played it just a tad bit, really just the first, actually, all I did was play the first stage. It's kind of just like I said, man, it's just, there's a little bit of a story to it and everything, but it's really just going out into a field or whatever the setting is, and it's just button mashing. That's all it is, and personally, I think there's too much going on the screen. Like, there's all these attacks and all these buttons you have to hit to do these certain attacks. Now, I know as the game goes on, that will become easier, but it's like you got people talking down the left part of the screen. Like, I already have a hard enough time. Like, there's enemies everywhere. You're doing all these attacks, and there's people talking. There's just too much shit going on, which is kind of like, I'll kind of take it to another game I'm playing, a new Super Lucky's Tale. I kind of want to have a short conversation with you here on this one, because this is like Hyrule Warriors. Like I said, I don't really have much to say. First stage, it's okay. But then, there's all this chaos going on. Now, a new Super Lucky's Tale. It's a platformer. It's very cute, very colorful. I don't want to talk about this too long because we want to get to our first topic, but as I'm playing it, it's a little bit easier of a game, which is nice when you're playing something as chaotic as Hyrule Warriors.
It's a little more relaxing, right?
It might not be difficult, but it is chaotic. But is there a point for us where these games might be too cute? It might not. Definitely, they're not for adults. I would say they're definitely more towards, little kids or teenagers. Yeah. But my question to you would be, can a game be too cute and unattractive for adults?
I don't think so. And one of the ones I will go to is Yoshi's Crafted World. I know the game itself is it's just a solid platformer. It's nothing that's going to blow you away. It's fun, but it is adorable to see the entire world, the characters, the enemies are all created out of crafts and stuff around the house. So and some games, especially, and we've got more of these, platformers seem to really have it, these really cute art style. And I think as long as the game's fun, I say fuck it, man. If it's cute, whatever. If someone wants to make fun of you for playing a cute game,
I'm Red, come on, man. I got kids. I'm not worried about somebody making fun of me anymore, man. Screw them.
Exactly. So no, I don't think that a game can be too cute. I mean, I know, okay, sometimes it might be an art style that's it's one of those things where it's so cute, it's disgusting, everything's cotton candy pink or something like that. Then, that's one thing. But, just thinking about a game like Yoshi's Crafted World that is a very cute game, I still had fun with it. And I still enjoyed it as an adult. So
I'm having a blast with new Super Lucky's Tale. I guess what kind of made me think about that actually was not so much the art style or anything. It's more like the character interactions and the gameplay. Some 3D platformers are pretty easy, but this game's a little bit too easy so far. So I guess I agree with you. I don't care what people say. I'm going to play the game if I enjoy it. I am enjoying it so far, but it kind of just popped up into my head with the conversations and everything. This is a little bit childish, but it's all right. Anyways, final bosses. Let's get to our first topic of the podcast episode.
5 minutes in.
And hey, it happens. It happens. But what kind of made me think about this is I've been playing Super Mario 3D All-Stars lately, and you got Super Mario.
Great game.
You know, you got Super Mario Galaxy, you got Super Mario 64, and then you got some other game I can't remember because it's not important and it's fucking trash. So just play to mark it off your list. That's the only reason that you should play Super Mario Sunshine is to mark it off your damn list. Anyways, as I'm playing these games, like you fight Bowser in each of them 3 times. I'm going to throw this to you. It kind of made me think about, do you like having bosses like that throughout the game to fight, or would you rather just fight them at the end?
When it comes to final bosses like that, I strongly prefer to only face them one time at the end of the game.
Agreed.
Like, to me, it feels like your whole, in games that have a final boss, I know this doesn't apply to everything, but in games that have a final boss, like the whole game should be leading up to it. It should be trying to get to that final boss or get to where you're good enough to conquer that final boss. Or if you're playing Breath of the Wild, just jump off the Great Plateau and run straight to the final boss, you know, whatever. But to me, I only think you should fight the final boss or really any boss just one time in the game. I don't like, for me, it feels lazy when bosses get recycled, especially the final boss, because to me, it kind of takes some of that epic final fight feeling out of it. I mean, I think about some of, you know, we talk about Zelda so much just in general. Think about some of our favorite Zelda games. You know, A Link to the Past, you finally fight Ganon in the middle of the Golden Pyramid. You know, Ocarina of Time, yes, you fight Shadow Ganon, but that's not, or Phantom Ganon rather, but that's not the same thing. Like you finally fight Ganondorf.
Phantom Ganondorf, Fred. Come on, man. You gotta know better. Those Zelda fans will get on you.
Oh, I know it. So like, and those like final fights feel so epic because you've seen the character throughout the game. You've probably talked to the character in a lot of cases. He's taunted you or popped up here and there, but you finally get to fight him and it just feels awesome. So to me, having to face the enemy several times, and Mario games are horrible. The 3D Mario games are horrible about this because Odyssey was the same way. You fought Bowser at least twice that I can remember just off the top of my head. So I'm not a fan of it. The final boss should be reserved for the end of the game. What do you think?
It makes that boss more epic if you leave it just at the end.
Absolutely.
Like a great example is Twilight Princess. When you get to like, you know, now there's 4 different versions of Ganondorf when you get there. But like, you know, you get there and you've seen him a little bit in cutscenes here and there, but then you get there and you see him and you have this confrontation. That means so much more than if you would have fought him throughout the game. So I just think when you're sitting there and you don't get anything really from this boss until the end, it just makes that fight seem special. Whereas if you played him before, usually, well, obviously you end up beating him because you progress through the game. But usually what happens is they quit and they say, oh, I'm going to go, you know, not practice, but, you know, practice and get better, kind of the same thing. But anyways, like they're going to go do something.
They quit to fight another day.
Yeah, to better fight you the next time. And that just comes off as cowardly to me.
It
like
is.
You're quitting the fight, like, you know, to fight another day. And so when you finally get to him at the end, I'm like, dude, you're a quitter. You're a coward. So I hate final bosses throughout the game. Now, I will mention that there is one part where I think this really did work well, and that's because everything in this game works well. And so you all know what I'm already going to say here. Witcher 3 and the Wild Hunt. They had the Wild... Now, I can't remember... I remember you faced them like at the Battle of Kaer Morhen, and like that was
epic.
That's probably one of the best cutscenes and battles in all of video game, in my opinion. But you do face them a little bit throughout, and you get a little bit of cutscenes with them throughout. Like it did work in that game, so props to them. But The Witcher 3 done things that other games just have not been able to do since the game came out in 2015. So it definitely worked there. But as far as that, like, you know, Bowser, okay, we're talking about cutscenes and like how, you know, it makes it more epic when you get there.
It does.
Mario doesn't really make a difference in that sense because of cutscenes. There's really no story, but I would still only like to fight Bowser at the end. Think about the first couple of Mario games, like, you know, Super Mario Brothers, Mario 3, Super Mario World. You didn't face Bowser until the very end, and those fights felt truly epic. But, you know, here, I want to throw it to you because we got one example that is just absolutely terrible with this, facing a boss throughout the game, and that Skyward Sword. Why don't you just kind of go ahead and talk about how bad that one is?
Well, and this one's kind of cheating a little bit for us because these aren't technically the final boss, because Demise is the final boss. But, you know, you have to fight Girahim and the Imprisoned, both of them.
Well, Demise is the Imprisoned, so that kind of is the final boss.
And Girahim's basically a sword at the end. So, you know, so it counts. We're going to count
it. It goes together.
Yeah, so you have to fight both of them 3 fucking times throughout the game. And I get that they change up their attacks both times. You get the Grucinator against the Imprisoned, which is awesome, don't get me wrong. But just part of it is the fights themselves weren't that interesting, even though I liked the Ghirahim character. But, when you have to fight the same guy 3 times throughout the game, and in this case, they did it twice. I mean, to me, that just screams absolute laziness. And Ghirahim was the worst, where he's like, you've got some skill, but, I'll get you later, and he's cocky about it as opposed to cowardly, but he still is like, you're okay, but I'll get you later. And he was the perfect example of that. The Imprisoned just like escaping a few times, I don't know. It just felt redundant to have to fight both of them over and over and over. And like the fights were very similar. And this goes for any time. This goes with the Bowser fights and everything else that we've talked about. Usually the fights are so similar anyway. Yes, they might have a few new attacks. There might be a few new ways to attack them. Like I mentioned, the Grucinator is really cool. But, other than that, it's still the same fucking fight. And it gets repetitive. It gets boring. I remember when you fought Ghirahim in the first dungeon, and then you're like, oh my God, we're gonna, you knew he was gonna pop up a few more times, and he does. And it's just, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I don't care. I know we've mostly focused on final bosses, but even when it's just regular bosses that they repeat, and I get old games kind of had to recycle that, just the restraints of the systems. There's no fucking excuse in this day and age. Unless you've got a really good story reason to do it and you can keep the fight fresh and interesting every time, there's no reason to have to repeat boss fights. To me, it is absolutely lazy. Skyward Sword, I know you get ragged on by a lot of people for your motion
I love
controls,
Skyward Sword, so...
But I love Skyward Sword. That part of it can straight fuck off.
Yep, I agree. I do agree. I love it, but I agree with you on that part.
But, we've been talking about final bosses and the builds to final bosses and everything. And, the more you play a game, the more it really does tend to like build up to that climactic fight. And kind of, games that obviously you play the most, open world games, and the time that we put into them. I know we've talked a little bit about, hours and things like that and gameplay in open world games. Let's be honest, open world games are huge right now. So we're going to talk about them a little bit in just about every episode, it seems like. But, how you play the game, and most specifically kind of how you travel around the game world, can really have an impact and an effect on kind of how long you put into an open world game. And that really got us thinking about, and I think about this honestly, every open world game I play, is how I get around that world. Am I doing it on foot? Am I doing it on horseback? Am I fast traveling all around it? So I kind of want to kick to you, when it comes to getting around an open world game, and this is probably the longest transition of all time. I apologize for that. But I swear I eventually was going to connect all my dots and get to where I was going.
I was like, damn, man, he's going on about this one.
Took me a minute. But so when it comes to open world games, how do you prefer to kind of get around in them? And what do you think drives you towards one method or another?
It really varies by game, like depending on what type of. Well, they're all similar types of game, but how the mechanics are in the game. Now, one thing I don't do is fast travel at the beginning. Like when I get later on the game, like there's certain parts. Like I know it's Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I will get back to one day. There were certain parts where I was like, and I would say a little bit, maybe like 75% through the game, but like I'm not gonna go all the way over there because it's gonna take me 20 minutes to sell. So,
right.
Certain parts, I will fast travel earlier in the game, but for the most part, I like to leave that to the end. Like, when I'm just trying to go places real quick just to maybe get a collection item or something like that. But ever since my mistakes in Skyrim, which I've kind of talked about in this podcast, where really, it wasn't my first open world game, but it was one of the really first ones that maybe weren't Zelda's a bad example because really Breath of the Wild is only the first one that was really open world. But Skyrim was one of my first open world games. I just fast traveled everywhere and it really killed the experience. Like I did not enjoy the game at all. Like I beat Skyrim in 40 hours and that's in my opinion, after playing more open world games, that should never happen. So ever since that game, I've really tried my hardest to travel on foot. That's the way that I like to travel because you see everything and you can grab items along the way. And one thing that I hate with riding a horse, now we will talk about this. I will ride a horse in some games. The mechanics do matter, but you can't. I find myself riding on a trail a lot when I ride a horse.
Yeah,
and
you're
I
following a
absolutely
road.
hate that
Yep.
because you don't see like the rest of the world. You don't see all the nooks and cranny. Like when you're also a little bit higher off of the ground. When you're walking, you're closer to the ground. You can go everywhere. You can go off cliffs and everything. You know, you could do that in Ghost of Tsushima, but your horse would, bite it. The horse would bite it. That was, there's a glitch in that game where you should have been able to jump off certain cliffs. So Sucker Punch, you messed up. You messed up a little bit right there, but I kind of throw it to you, but for me it does vary. We'll kind of continue on with this, but if I can and if the world is not too big, I do prefer to travel by foot. How about you?
In general, I do. And yet the more I sat here, and I prefer to travel by foot as well, is what I mean. But the more I've sat here and thought about it, I find myself doing the horseback riding a lot more often than I really realize. And I think part of it is, and we're going to mention Breath of the Wild probably quite a bit in this because that's one we both explored on foot almost exclusively. Like I did not ride a horse.
Well, that's different though.
I did not ride a horse in Breath of the Wild unless the game required me to. So that is the one that I probably did on foot more than any other one. And I think kind of what drives that for me is when you don't have question marks and waypoints and quests like all over your map from the get-go. Like with Breath of the Wild, yeah, you've kind of got just the general, like, okay, at the beginning, yes, go see Impa, then yes, go do the 4 divine beasts. But other than that, there are no waypoints on your map unless you put them there yourself. And I think that really encourages you to travel by foot just because you can walk in every different direction. You can like go through the woods. You can go around up and down cliffs, things like, again, the climbing is a big factor. I liked climbing in Zelda. We both loved climbing in Breath of the Wild. So for me, a big factor is not having a map that's just so cluttered by all these question marks that show you where every single thing in the game is. It takes away the incentive to explore when you open up like an Assassin's Creed map and you've already got 50 question marks on there of stuff like points of interest, stuff to go do. And you lose that incentive to just go and explore and find stuff on your own. I feel like if I've already got the question marks, I'm like, I don't need to explore. I'll just jump on the horse and drive and go to the next one and go to the next one and go to the next one. So for me, that really is a huge driver. When the game doesn't hold my hand and tell me exactly where to go, I'm more likely to walk and travel by foot or run as opposed to riding on horseback. But another big factor though, because time is a factor in our lives, is the ability to sprint. It's like you look, do you have a stamina bar? Do you eventually slow down, or can you just sprint on forever? Or is the game world just in general too big for you to be able to travel just by foot? So I do think that all that really plays into it. Like I said, so I prefer traveling by foot, but the horseback riding, I feel like just for a time factor is really something I've probably done.
Like it depends on the game. That's my opinion because there's 2 games where I really use the horse a lot. The Witcher 3. Now, why I'm using The Witcher 3, I don't know. I just remember that I really liked riding on the horse in The Witcher 3, but I really used it a lot in Ghost of Tsushima. Now, Ghost of Tsushima, the game world, even though it doesn't look big on the map, like that game world feels humongous. But here's the other reason that I use the horse so much is because the mechanic of how you are guided in the game by the wind, like that made me go off the path.
Yes.
Like usually, I throw there's you can see the question mark or there's like not an objective, a waypoint. There's a waypoint that you kind of see on the map and you go towards that and you're more likely to stay on the trail. Whereas like with the wind, like it would just go a certain direction and I found myself going on the path so much and right now, Ghost of Tsushima is the time that I rode a horse the most in an open world game. So I think it honestly depends on how much fun it is to ride a horse too.
And that's true.
And then also what you can do when you're on the horse. In Ghost of Tsushima, you could actually pick up items when you rode past them. There's been other games where if you're on a horse, you cannot get items. And if you cannot get items on a horse and you don't want to fast travel, your only other option is to go by foot.
Right.
So, those mechanics right there, they do matter. And so I think I don't really... Like I said, it depends on the horse and like what you can do on it. For me, that's what it depends on. Like, there's really no game there's really no set factor like, oh, I always do this, I always do that. It really depends on the games and the mechanics. But whatever, traveling around open world fun's no matter how you do it. Well, let's just fast travel. People don't fast travel. A game is not about being a game as quick as you can. Trust me, I learned with Skyrim. Sit there, get lost in the experience, get lost in the world, go explore. Do not fast travel. You're going to waste your damn time with it. But anyways,
I will agree with you on the fast travel point. Like, I do think that it kind of breaks the immersion in a game when you can just pull up the map and instantly travel to, whether it's a waypoint, a village, or every point of interest, or maybe it's just a specific tower like Breath of the Wild, something like that. But it still takes you out of the game world a little bit when you do that, because you're almost always taken to a loading screen that's got like tips or whatever. And that's nice. That's not bad, but it really does break the immersion for me. And I know loading times are becoming better. Well,
you don't have to worry about that, the Xbox Series X.
Yeah, exactly. So God, just to me, but you can't not have it in a game though, because agreed. It's just, it's a quality of life thing. And people do, these games are so massive now. And especially, like I said, when you're getting close to the end of the game, you've already seen the vast majority of the world. At that point, you're kind of ready to just wrap it up, hit those last few points of interest, get to your next mission, and
what's
finish
the biggest game world that you've ever played?
I honestly, I don't know, what the actual official.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows the scale technically, but
right. But I mean, I would have to say, Grand Theft Auto 5 would be up there.
Yeah,
because that game world is absolutely just insanely large. That would be the one that I would think would probably take the cake in terms of if I ran from one corner of the map to the other corner of the map, it would take the long. Of course, you'd be driving in this game, but so to me, that's probably the biggest one that I've played. And you do kind of start fast traveling. When you realize you've driven or ridden or walked the same road so many times. So what about you? What do you think the biggest game world you've played is?
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It's not even close, man.
Okay.
You get all those islands and then you get the ocean. That game is freaking humongous, and it's taken me forever. Like I said, I need to get back to it. I put 85 hours in. I really need to get back to that game, but I'm struggling. I'm playing Hyrule Warriors. I'm playing New Super Lucky's Tale. I'm trying to play Tomb Raider on PC, and I keep on getting these damn parts where, you got to do something really quick. If you die, it loads. And so, I suck. And so it just keeps on load screen, load screen, load screen.
Yep.
I'm tired of this shit. But anyways, I tried to get to my transition earlier. Then Red cut me off. I wasn't going to make it as long as you made your transition or whatever. But anyway.
I had more to say. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I always do that because if I ever have more to say, I also speak up. But we touched on Breath of the Wild and traveling. And one thing that Breath of the Wild did was, it introduced voice acting to Zelda games, which kind of brings us to this whole topic of celebrities in video games or people being voice actors in games and then becoming celebrities. It happens both ways, but I kind of just wanted to have a little conversation on this. First of all, how do you feel about celebrities? Usually they're going to be voice acting. Overall, what's your opinion of celebrities in video games? Do you like it or do you not?
I'm really hit or miss on celebrities appearing in video games. And I do feel, we kind of mentioned this in the intro, that it is becoming more and more common. I think as video games have become a much more prominent and popular, form of entertainment, it's no longer just kids and teenagers anymore.
Yep.
I mean, it seems like a worldwide
and
thing
$1 billion
now.
Industry too.
Exactly. So more and more celebrities, they like getting the cameos or even actual famous actors and actresses appearing in these games. So if it's done well and they pair up a celebrity with a role that fits them, whether it's their appearance, their voice, whatever it is, then I think it could be really good. Because one example I absolutely love is Martin Sheen in Mass Effect 2 and 3. He plays the character he plays is just perfect. He has got that kind of sinister sounding, smoky, raspy voice.
Yep.
And it matches his character just absolutely perfectly, I thought. So I think...
Now, does the character look like Martin Sheen, or is it just the voice?
Kind of. It does have a decent resemblance to him with, some liberties taken. So that doesn't bother me too much, especially, once again, if the person's kind of appearance fits it. And I thought he really did. So I thought that was a really good example. One game that I think kind of took it to an extreme is with Death Stranding. Which of course that game took a lot of stuff to the extreme.
Yeah, yes it does.
But I mean, you had the main character is Norman Reedus, who's a very famous actor. Going back to Boondock Saints.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then The Walking Dead, of course. And then the villain, or the guy that you're always seeing is Mads Mikkelsen, who's obviously a very famous actor. You know, he's been in Hannibal. He was one of the guys in Casino Royale, you know, the Daniel Craig Bond film. So, and then you had cameos from like Conan O'Brien, Jeff Kiley, and I'm probably butchered that name.
I love the Conan O'Brien spot in that game.
So to me, like, I look at that as like, maybe that's a little overboard, but with how cinematic that game is, they were able to pull it off because your character as Norman Reedus looked amazing. Mads Mikkelsen looked amazing. Like, so even though that game did kind of take it to an extreme, like those guys, like that is a cinematic enough game that having these really famous actors seem to really fit in there. So I know there's plenty of other examples I'm sure we're going to get to, but just overall, kind of how do you feel about celebrities appearing in video games?
Yeah, man, Death Stranding, that's a weird ass game. But for me, like,
I will beat it one of these days.
I'm okay with it. Like you said, if it's done right. Now, like you said, as they become more cinematic and also the industry becomes bigger, you're seeing these celebrities, like, you know, want to get in video games more. Exactly what you said. So why I'm repeating it, I don't know. But we've seen this, like,
we actually
back
agree on something. That's not a bad thing.
We've seen this since way back in the day. Like, we had Shaq and Shaq Fu. Like, back in the day when Shaq used to do everything. Like,
That's
you younger kids, like, Shaq used to be in movies like Kazam.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, just that guy used to do everything. And then you had Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which, with all his trouble, I think they later took him out and renamed it just Punch Out without Mike Tyson. I think he fought somebody else. I'm not really sure, but I believe that's what happened. You know, that was mostly sports games back in the day, but we have seen this go on for a long time. But, you know, then there's some examples like where I don't think it fits very well. And I'm actually going to mention a non-video game for this, like when Ed Sheeran showed up in Game of Thrones. Like that just, you know, that just was out of place. That just didn't work out. And in AC Valhalla, now I'm not seeing this, but I've heard that Cody Bellinger, the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball player, is in it. And see, that's one of those things right there where
that sounds like a
this
weird
is a
one.
baseball player in a Viking game. Like, you know, that to me just, like, that's an example where I don't really like it. Like, you got Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk 2077, but he's an actor. Like, he's played different roles. Like, you know, for example, The Matrix, which I've
a lot of sci-fi roles.
Yeah, I need to really watch those movies. I don't know. I have no reason for watching those movies. I just have not done it. But that fits in very well with Cyberpunk 2077. So it makes sense. Also, Kiefer Sutherland in Metal Gear Solid 5, also kind of similar roles to ones he has played, you know, in the past. So examples like that, like, you know, I do really like it. But when you just throw a celebrity in there to throw it, well, you know what? I'm saying that, but I love Conan O'Brien in Death Stranding. So, you know, and that literally was just a throw-in right there. Like, he does not fit in that game whatsoever. It's probably because he does that little skit with the where he does the reviews for the games or whatever like that. That's how he probably got in there. So, you know, I guess there are examples where if they are just thrown in, I do like it. But I think the majority of the time, I do not like that. I like these celebrities to actually, you know, either played some kind of role or have some kind of personality that fits the person that they're playing.
Exactly.
Like, you know, in the game. And here's the thing, like, you know, yeah, it's nice getting a throw in here or there. But then you say, like, you know, Norman Reedus, Death Stranding, they kind of overdid it a little while. And that's how, like, my celebrities in video games is actually in the middle. Neither one of those. In the middle. I like the celebrity to be in there a decent amount, but not be the main character. And I'm not sure how much Keanu Reeves plays in Cyberpunk 2077, but I do know that he's not the main character, but it does seem like he has a pretty big role in it. And I think that I am going to like that. So I'm, you know, I kind of done talking.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. I don't really know where to go next with this one, but
no, it's well. Here's the thought. We did kind of mention how voice actors, voice actresses actually kind of become famous from their voice acting. There's a couple of examples of ones that just pop into my head immediately when I think of video game voice capture, voice characters. Nolan North and Jennifer Hale are two characters that have primarily become famous, at least to gamers, at least in my mind, from doing roles in video games. And I think, like, as the voice acting becomes more prominent, games get more famous, games get more popular, you know, this is a good niche for people who, you know, and I'm not saying this about Nolan North or Jennifer Hale at all, but it's like, maybe if you're not a great actor, but if you've got a good voice,
maybe if you're not getting to where you want to get to in the business,
that's a much better way to put it. Because I have no clue if Nolan North or Jennifer Hale are actually good actor and actresses or not. I don't know. But, you know, if you have a talent for the voiceovers and you've got a great voice for whether it's action games, adventure games, whatever it is, it's another great avenue for people to get a break in the industry.
And I think voice acting is becoming more and more important because we're getting more and more lost within the games. Like back in the day, like it mattered, but I don't think it really mattered that much. Like go back to like Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, like the voice acting in those games, it's not really that memorable at all. But really nowadays, if you have bad voice acting, you are going to get killed. Like, a good example.
Zelda.
I don't know if it's a good example, but Patricia Somerset that played Zelda in Breath of the Wild, I didn't mind her at all. I thought it was nice that we had voice acting in a Zelda game. But, she did kind of become a little bit of a celebrity. But at the same time, she also got bashed a little bit.
She became infamous instead of famous, I think. I don't think anyone liked that acting.
So it can't go that way, too, and everything. But I just think, like I said, as we go forward, I don't think it's so much celebrities. I think we need, like you said, the people with the right voices, no matter who they are. If they're celebrities, that's cool. But if they're just random people, obviously they try to get into voice acting. Most likely, like the God of War guy. Oh my God. That voice was fucking perfect, man.
Dude, Geralt's voice in The Witcher is perfect.
That's what I'm trying to say. Voice acting is becoming so huge because it immerses you so much in the game. And there's so many cinematics that when you get something like a God of War and whoever you said that was, it can make a game spectacular.
Well, plus, when you look back on these games that we're really fond of, especially, in the last game generation or two, you're not going back to games that didn't have voice acting, but you associate that voice with the character. When you see the character, that voice immediately is one of the things that pops into your head. Like I mentioned Witcher, you mentioned the God of War person. I know my female Captain
See, my
Shepard.
Witcher's all screwed up because of the damn Netflix show. I don't even remember how the video game character sounded.
Now you've got Henry Cavill,
Yeah.
But no, so it's it does become synonymous with that character. And of course, unless it changes, then it can just throw you way off.
Yeah.
But, so I do like that it's a good avenue. And, it's just for these people to kind of break through and they become that video game character. That's who you think of when you see that character. I won't think about Death Stranding and not think about Norman Reedus. Without also thinking about how fucked up the producer and creator of that game is.
Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm. You gotta have a really messed up mind to create something like that, dude.
Now, one interesting kind of example, or a couple of examples, and I'm really going to pick on Marvel here for a minute for two specific examples of where they really fucked up with the celebrity likenesses. When you have an existing IP like Marvel, when the Marvel Cinematic Universe is as massive as it is, and the characters, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, those are Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, that is, and Mark Ruffalo for the Hulk. That that is who that character should be, because for the last 10, 15 years, they have dominated pop culture. They've been in our face for 10 or 15 years. And then you make a game based on it's called the fucking Avengers. And it has Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Hulk. And they don't look anything like the fucking movie characters.
Yeah.
And I get, the licensing and all that shit may have been prohibitively expensive to get their likenesses, their voices, whatever. Maybe to pay the actors would have been way too much. But you've got Marvel, Disney, fuck you money. There's
but
not
Spider-Man didn't use the actor's face, and it did okay. Which it didn't change it to look like the actor's face in the new one. So, you gotta go back and forth on that one. But I get what you're saying. I do agree with you. But at the same time, in the original Spider-Man, I don't believe they used that actor's, there's been a couple different actors. Right, but I don't believe they really used that actor's face. And then, they tried and we bashed that one. But so I think it comes down to, yes, I agree. I would love to see the Marvel actors as their characters, right? But you can still make a great game from it if you don't have that.
And it sounds like they didn't make a great game out of Avengers. I heard it bombed. So.
I didn't look into it at all. I'm sick of Avengers and everything. I'm not really against it, but just I've not been able to check out the thousands of movies they made in the last 15 years. So
right. And then I'm glad you brought up the Spider-Man and you've already got the video game character. The game is already out. and you're doing an update, a remake, whatever, and you totally change the way the guy looks to make it look closer.
That was terrible. You've heard us bitch about that one.
Oh my God. So
I wish I remember what episode that was. Go back. It's called Spider-Man Face Transplant. That's the title. Go back and check that out because I went off.
Oh yeah. So to me, I feel like Marvel has kind of fucked up twice, and they did it in two very different ways with their games. But man, overall, in general, if the celebrity fits the game and fits within the game, whether it's their likeness, their voice, whatever, I'm all for it. I just don't want to be bashed over the head with like cameos popping up everywhere. But like I said, Norman Reedus did a great job. Kiefer Sutherland, Martin Sheen, they all fit. Shaq and Shaq Fu, whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't bother me at the end of the day. And if people are getting famous by being voice actors, more power to them. Yep. So, but we kind of sit here and we talk about hearing celebrity voices and advances in like audio, voiceover, all that stuff. Audio in video games is becoming more and more important as our audio technology just continues to advance. I mean, 3D audio, the soundtracks are getting freaking symphonies going on. Audio in video gaming has always been a little important because soundtracks really stick to our mind. But man, is it ever even more important now with the technology for audio that is in our hands. So we wanted to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about your preference when you're playing a video games. Headphones or TV speakers or sound system. Go. Which one do you prefer?
Well, my preference would be sound system, the bass booming, speakers loud, but I don't have that option because I have 3 young kids. So that's what I would love to do, but I can't do, which brings me to my next point. What I love to do, not what I love to do now, but the way I play the most now is with headphones. Right. Because, a lot of times my kids are asleep or whatever, or I'm just, they're also, they're either asleep or they're making a lot of noise. So if I don't have headphones in, I can't hear it, or I gotta have headphones in to be quiet. But to me, like, if you can't do it on a sound system, and I really like this conversation because, like I said, it's becoming more and more important. And I just really think the way you hear games, kind of going along with that, is definitely becoming important. A lot of that's the 3D audio. And this is why I think headphones are going to be better, like in bigger, more people are, I'm going to get to what I want to say, okay? I'm going to get there. More people are going to want to use headphones in the future. And I think a lot of that has to do with 3D audio, where you're hearing sounds like that are coming from different directions. Right. With headphones, you can hear that better on a left and a right ear versus a speaker where they might have a left and a right speaker, but it's still coming towards you from a central position. So me, I love playing video games with headphones nowadays. Hate the wires, but does this next gen, I gotta ask you a question. Does this next gen, you might not have looked into it, is there Bluetooth capability with the systems?
I mean, there's obviously Bluetooth support for the controllers and stuff.
Well,
I do not know. I do not know in terms of headphones. I have not tried. I don't have the situation you do. I'm not living with a wife and kids. I do live in an apartment complex, so I try not to blast my audio too loud. Yep. But man, if I'm gaming during, waking hours and not, after, 9 or 10 o'clock at night when people are going to bed, man, I'm old school. I love having the speakers booming. Yep. Mm-hmm. And of course, a lot of games I play are action games. So, I love the shooters and stuff like that. So, I'm a big fan of just the booming sound, the bass, and maybe you don't get the best 3D audio because I don't have a surround sound set up, so I don't really get that 3D audio. Or hell, there's even sound bars now that do 3D audio somehow. Yeah, that technology makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever. But anyway, but so I love I've got 2 tower speakers that I've had since college. Basically hooked up to an old receiver.
I remember those.
And I used to put them in my window to blast music out into the villas.
And that girl passed out right beside one that one time. Remember that?
That girl. God
she
bless
had
her.
one too many that night.
Sometimes trying to drink with us is the downfall of people.
I can ask my wife about that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But anyway, before we get ourselves in trouble. I absolutely love...
I didn't continue on. Notice that.
I do absolutely love having the big tower speakers. In my living room setup, I've got the speakers far enough away from the TV, like almost on opposite corners of the living room, that you still kind of get that 3D effect if you have it set up for for stereo sound. And it's not as good as obviously as the perfect 3D audio and all that, but at least it helps a little bit in getting that, it's coming from the left or it's coming from the right. So, and another reason I still prefer the tower speakers is I've never invested in good headphones. Like I've never bought
should.
a good pair of headphones. And I know these days you can get absolutely amazing, whether it's Bose, Beats, or even like the Samsung and Apple, like the AirBuds, things like that are all amazing headphones now. The technology in them is so far beyond what it has been, when we were growing up. I've just never put the time and money into a good pair of headphones. So that's a big reason for me why I still do prefer to game with the big tower speakers. Now, if I had a good pair that I'd put a couple $100 into, they were noise cancellation.
$100? You got to put more than $100,
I said
man.
a couple hundred.
But I keep on telling you, like, you need to get some. I don't know. I keep on trying to talk you into things, and you just won't listen to me. But I guess you spend all your money on next-gen console systems, so whatever.
Yeah, keep trying to talk me into that Nintendo Entertainment Online, yeah.
Yeah, but one thing that makes me upset is that my sound system is on the TV that my kids get to watch. So see, man, you all out there, I mean, it's nice to have a family. I love my wife and I love my kids. But then it's shit like this, man, where you just, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'll just move it into my, I call it my lounge where my computer, my TV are and everything. Right. But my TV is turned and I just don't have the room for all the speakers. And so my kids sit here, they get the damn sound system. They don't even use the subwoofer. So that's, I'm the one that turned it off, but so, man, they've taken... I love them, but man, they've taken my sound system, and that's really depressing.
They've taken a lot of the nice things in your house, I've noticed.
Going on that, like you kind of talk about soundbar and 3D audio, I've actually thought about getting a good soundbar, but you see how my TV in the lounge, it has to be turned because of where my desk is at. Like if you have a sound bar, like it would be straight on the wall versus the TV, it's turned. And so I don't think the sound would project the way I wanted it to. And then if I put it on my desk, I think it would be too low where the TV was higher. And so, I'm just kind of in a position right now where, I do use my headphones a lot, but I would like a sound system, especially, when I'm working from home. I have a couple hours after work where I can do whatever I want to.
Oh yeah, the kids are daycare.
Cool. Yeah, it would be cool to play a video game on a great sound system, but kind of getting away from that, I'm gonna get to the headphones. Here's something I gotta tell you all. I'd recommend the Red. Like $100 on headphones. Get out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here.
I said a couple hundred.
A couple hundred. $350 is what you should be spending. But let me kind of talk about that price point.
You're 2/3 of the way to a fucking PlayStation 5 at that point.
Yeah, I know, but it sounds good, damn it. All right, let me get to it. But anyways, like a little while ago, I bought some Beats over-the-ear headphones. They had some not hardware. They fell apart. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. The sound was good, but they fell apart. But here's the thing about it. After that happened, I went out and I bought another $350 pair of headphones because when you spend that much money on headphones, you can tell the difference. And it's one of those things that once you buy one of them, like you don't go back. Like you want them. And so this is kind of like what I talk about. I do recommend if you're going to play with headphones. Yeah, I understand that everybody does not have the money to spend $350 on headphones. I'm telling you that if you can make it work,
splurge.
It is freaking worth it. It makes, like I have Bose Quiet Comfort 35. That's the ones I don't know why I needed to repeat that. But because there's new ones out. That's why I got confused. But I have those and they sound amazing. Now, I got connected wire and everything to the controller because, there's no Bluetooth in the older models. I don't know about the newer systems, but
I might mess around with that and see if there's a way to do it now. I'm
but it makes it sound so much better. And then one cool thing actually about me is when I can also, if I don't want to go wired, my AirPods connect to my TV. Now, you do have to have a newer TV that has Bluetooth that can't connect to headphones. But that's also very cool to do. But I guess what I'm recommending to people here is if you can't have a good sound system, I would say go headphones and spend a good amount of money on headphones because, like I said, kind of like earlier, like the point about gaming nowadays is getting lost in the games. Right. And those headphones will help you get lost in the game. So Red, I had a point that I wanted to throw to you, Red. I can't remember exactly. Oh, you want to talk about, before we end real quick, do you want to kind of get into gaming headphones and are those better? Are they not better? Do we know?
Well, again, like I said, I've never splurged for good headphones or gaming specific headphones. So I honestly don't have a clue. It's never an area I've done research. I think if I was in a situation like you where you had the wife and kids and, sometimes you need to be quiet or
that's true.
Or people who are traveling and
the only way I can blare music now is with headphones.
Right. Or people who are like gaming on the go and is streaming video games. becomes more and more prominent and people are actually just gaming literally on their cell phone, on their tablet, whatever, and still playing these amazing...
Well, those gotta have a headset. You gotta have good headphones with the headset.
Yep, because you ain't gonna get good quality audio out of a fucking cell phone or a tablet. I mean, so I think the headphones will become more popular, especially in places where people are gaming on the go a lot. You know, your bigger cities or your countries that have better, you know, public transportation, better train systems, all that stuff. I can see that really becoming more popular, along with virtual reality. VR, the headphones are tailor-made for that because it really does totally immerse you. You've got your full vision and audio are all totally contained. Like, they are made for headphones. So, like, I do think that headphones will continue to become more and more popular, especially as hopefully kind of the technology keeps getting better and you know, the price of those headphones comes down a little bit, like most electronics do over time. You know, but as for specific game, I traveled so far off your original question. But as for specific gaming headphones, I've just never really looked into it. So I don't know if there's something better out there. But
I don't know if it's conversation that everybody wanted to hear from us, but I was really excited about it, and I enjoyed talking about it because I think sound really matters. But anyways, it's that time, sadly. It's time to wrap up this podcast. All these links will, you know what? We had a blast today, man. Another fun time. I wasn't even in the mood to do the podcast today. It's crazy how you get right into it. But anyways, all these links will be in the description. You can support us on Patreon or PayPal. And if you can't support us financially, please leave a review or a rating. It helps out with our rankings. And then check out our websites. We have merchandise on both of our websites, TGPC Gaming and Two Guys Playing Zelda. Those are affiliate shops, so we may earn a commission on purchases through our links. And Red, you kind of want to talk about some of the other stuff we got going on?
Yep, we're on YouTube at TGPZ Gaming with Busted Buttons and Two Guys Playing Zelda on YouTube.
We don't have a Busted Buttons YouTube channel.
Oh crap! I thought we did. It's all TGPZ Gaming. You're right. Sorry. And then we're also on Discord. Great server. Great discussions on Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, TV shows, booze, sports. Great discussion on Discord. Definitely check us out there. And we're all over social media, Twitter and Instagram, specifically at Busted Buttons PC. So great episode. Like you said, coming in, I wasn't too jacked up, but as soon as we got going, the juices got flowing, the booze got flowing, and I think we had a really good one. So thanks everyone for listening. Keep on gaming, and we'll see you next episode.